Mary had a secret. Every morning, before the sun rose, she sat in her room and sang quietly. Her voice, soft but strong, carried the pain she couldn't say out loud. Music was the only place she felt free. No one at Gracefield High knew Mary could sing, not the teachers, not her classmates, and definitely not Ada. But singing made her feel strong, even when the bullies made her feel small. One day, she saw a poster on the school wall. Gracefield Talent Show, sign up now. Her heart beat fast. She wanted to sign up. But what if they laughed? What if they mocked her voice like they mocked her body? Later that day, Samuel found her under the mango tree. "You should do it," he said. "I've heard you sing. You're amazing." Mary looked away. What if they laugh? Samuel smiled gently. "Then sing louder." That night, Mary whispered a prayer. Then, with trembling hands, she walked to the board, and wrote her name under solo singer. It was a small step. But for Mary, it was the beginning of everything. The day of the talent show arrived faster than Mary expected. The school hall was decorated with ribbons and colored balloons. Students filled the rows of plastic chairs, chattering and laughing. The judges, 2 teachers and the school's head girl, sat at a table near the stage. Backstage, Mary stood alone, holding her, and shaking slightly. She had worn her best dress, a neat white blouse and a navy blue skirt her mother ironed twice. Her hair was braided into 2 buns, and a little lip balm shone on her lips. But even in her best, Mary still felt like hiding. "Next performer, solo singer, Mary Johnson," someone called out. Gasps and whispers rose from the crowd. "Isn't that the fat girl from SS1B? She can sing. Since when? She should be eating, not performing." Mary heard every word. Her legs felt weak. Her eyes filled with tears. But then, she remembered Samuel's words. "Then sing louder." She took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The lights hit her face. The hall went quiet. She looked out. Ada sat in the front row, arms crossed, smirking. Her friends giggled, already ready to laugh. Mary walked to the mic. She closed her eyes. Her hands trembled. And then, she sang. "Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness." The first note was soft. Then stronger. Clearer. The hall went still. Her voice filled the space, calm and rich like warm honey. Her fear melted into the lyrics. She sang not to impress, but to heal. To speak. To be heard. By the second verse, even the mockers were silent. When she sang the final words, her eyes opened slowly. She saw something she had never seen before. A standing ovation. Even the teachers clapped. Even Ada's smirk was gone. Samuel met her backstage with a wide grin. "I told you," he said. "They listened." Mary smiled for real this time. It was the first time she felt seen, not for her size, but for her strength. Not for her body, but for her voice. And in that moment, Mary knew something had changed. The girl they once laughed at had become the girl they now listened to. On Monday morning, Mary walked into school differently. She didn't rush past the gate. She didn't keep her head down. She walked slowly, shoulders straight, holding her books against her chest, not as a shield this time, but like someone proud of who she was. Students turned as she passed. Some smiled. A few whispered, "That's the girl who sang on Friday, right? She was so good. I didn't know she had that kind of voice." Mary didn't pretend not to hear. She smiled softly, said nothing, and kept walking. But when she got to SS1B, Ada was waiting. She stood at the door with her arms folded, her 2 friends behind her like shadows. "So," Ada said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "you sang one song and now you think you're Beyoncé?" Laughter bubbled from the back of the classroom. Mary felt her chest tighten. But this time, she didn't freeze. She looked Ada in the eyes and replied, calm and steady, "No. I don't think I'm Beyoncé. I just know who I am now. And I'm done letting you decide that for me." The classroom went quiet. Ada blinked. She hadn't expected that. Mary walked past her and went to her seat. The moment felt small, but to Mary, it was like climbing a mountain. During the last week of the term, the school went on an excursion. The school was taking students on an excursion to Alumo Rock. 2 big buses waited in the compound. Students took selfies, shared snacks, and shouted over one another in excitement. Mary stood quietly by the gate, holding her bag. This would be her first school trip ever. But just as she climbed into the first bus, she heard a loud voice. "Why is she sitting here?" Ada snapped from the back row. Everyone turned. Ada stood up and walked to Mary's seat. "I'm not going anywhere with her on this bus," Ada said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She thinks she's a star now." The teacher on duty rushed over. "What is the problem?" Ada pointed. "It's either she leaves or I leave." The teacher sighed and turned to Mary. "Please, Mary, just join the second bus. I don't want drama today." Mary nodded silently, stood up, and walked out without a word. The second bus was quieter. Samuel had saved her a seat. "Don't mind her," he said. "She's not worth it." Mary smiled faintly and looked out the window. The engine started, and soon both buses rolled out of the compound. She didn't know that it would be the last time she ever saw Ada. It was while climbing Alumo Rock that someone screamed. A teacher had picked up a phone call. The first bus, the one Ada and her friends were in, had been involved in a terrible accident. Tire burst. It tumbled off the expressway. No one survived. The rock fell silent. The joy turned to tears. Mary froze. Her hands shook. Samuel held her hand. "It could have been you," he whispered. Back home, Mary sat in bed, staring at the wall. She remembered Ada's face, her anger, her pride, her laugh. So many cruel words. So many sharp looks. So much pain. And now, nothing. Gone. Mary didn't feel happy. She didn't feel like she had won. No. She just felt heavy. "I forgave her a long time ago," she whispered. She picked up her diary and wrote one final letter. "Dear Ada, I wish things ended differently. I wish you had known the peace I found. Life is too short for hate. I forgive you. Rest well. Mary." Mary stood in the same school hall, now a senior student. A new set of juniors stared up at her as she sang softly during assembly. Her voice was calm, strong, full of hope. Everyone listened. Because she was no longer just the girl they mocked. She had become a symbol of strength, of kindness, of survival. And as her voice filled the hall, even the heavens, it seemed, paused to listen.